When my father's lawyer smiled at me across that mahogany table and told me I'd been cut out of the will, I felt my world implode. 3 days later, I was rifling through Dad's home office at 2 a.m. with trembling hands. That's when I realized life isn't just a game of cards. It's a game where some players have marked the deck long before you sit down to play. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and tell me what state you're from in the comments. Because trust me, this story twists harder than a tornado in Texas, and you'll want to be here for every shocking turn. I always thought family meant something. That blood was thicker than water, that we protected each other. My father raised us to believe that. Family first, he'd say, his voice carrying that authoritative tone that came from 30 years as one of the city's most respected attorneys. I believed him. I lived by those words. Dad's death hit us like a freight train. Heart attack, they said. No warning. Just a normal Tuesday morning that ended with a phone call that changed everything. My brother Marcus was the one who called me. "It's Dad," he said, his voice unnaturally calm. "He's gone, Ellie." I remember dropping my coffee mug.
I remember the sound it made when it shattered against my kitchen floor.
Funny how your mind holds on to insignificant details when the important ones are too painful to process. The funeral was a blur of black suits and hollow condolences. My brother handled everything, the arrangements, the service, contacting Dad's colleagues. He'd always been the responsible one, 7 years my senior, and following directly in our father's legal footsteps while I chose a career in education. I was grateful for his efficiency during those dark days. I didn't realize then that efficiency had a purpose. The reading of the will is scheduled for Friday. Marcus informed me a week after we buried our father.
That's partner Richard will handle it.
He wouldn't meet my eyes when he said it, but I chalked it up to grief. I should have known then. I should have seen the signs. Script part separator, Friday arrived with an ominous feeling I couldn't shake. The law offices where Dad had spent most of his life felt different now, colder, more sterile. Richard Thornton, Dad's partner for over 20 years, greeted me with a thin smile. "Eleanor, I'm sorry for your loss. Your father was a remarkable man." Marcus was already seated when I arrived, looking immaculate in his tailored suit. 2 other partners from the firm joined us, along with Dad's longtime assistant Vera, who squeezed my hand with genuine sadness in her eyes. "Let's begin," Richard said, adjusting his glasses as he opened a leather portfolio. The preliminaries were standard, legal language that established the document as my father's last will and testament. I waited for the part about the estate division, my father's modest but comfortable savings, the house I grew up in, his collection of first-edition law books. "To my son, Marcus William Harrington, I leave my entire estate, including all financial assets, real property, and personal belongings." The room went silent. I waited for the next line, the part about me.
"It never came."
Richard cleared his throat. "That concludes the distribution of assets." "There must be some mistake," I said, my voice sounding distant to my own ears.
"What about me?"
Richard's smile wasn't kind or sympathetic. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. "There's no mistake, Eleanor. This will was updated 3 weeks before your father's death. It's properly witnessed and executed."
3 weeks.
I turned to Marcus. "Did you know about this?"
"My brother would meet my eyes."
"Dad made his choices, Ellie. We should respect them. Respect them."
My voice rose.
"Our father wouldn't cut me out completely. That's not who he was." Richard slid the will across the table. "People change, Eleanor. Sometimes they see things clearly only at the end." That's when I noticed it, the slight smirk on Richard's face as he exchanged glances with my brother. Something passed between them, an understanding that excluded me entirely. Script part separator, I left the law office in a daze, my mind racing to make sense of what had happened. Marcus followed me to the parking lot, his expensive shoes clicking rapidly on the pavement behind me. "Ellie, wait," he called. "We need to talk about this."
I spun around, tears burning in my eyes.
"Talk about what exactly?" "How our father supposedly decided I wasn't worth a single penny of his estate. Or how you sat there knowing this was coming."
Marcus' face hardened.
"Dad had his reasons. You weren't around much these last few years. I was teaching in Boston. He visited me twice last year alone. We spoke every Sunday.
My voice cracked.
He never once indicated he was upset with me. Maybe he didn't want to hurt your feelings. Marcus straightened his tie. Look, I can help you out financially if... I don't want your charity, I snapped. I want to understand why Dad would do this.
A flicker of something, guilt?
Concern. Crossed Marcus's face before he schooled his features back into that practiced attorney calm. The will is legal and binding, Ellie. Fighting it would just waste what little savings you have.
His words hit me like a slap.
How did he know about my financial situation? I'd never discussed my teacher's salary or my student loan struggles with him.
Imid timito think, imutered, fumbling for my carcase. Don't do anything rise, Marcus Varned.
Sometimes it's better to accept things and move on. As I drove away, his words echoed in my head. Accept things and move on. Like hell I would. That night, I couldn't sleep. Dad's behavior in his final weeks suddenly seemed significant in ways I hadn't noticed before. He'd called me twice asking about my future plans. Whether I'd ever considered moving back home. If I was happy with my life choices. At the time, I thought they were just the reflective questions of an aging father. Now, they felt like clues to a puzzle I couldn't solve. By 2 a.m., desperation drove me to Dad's house, technically Marcus's house now. I still had my key, and I knew Marcus wouldn't be there. He had his own place across town. The house was dark and eerily silent as I slipped inside. I headed straight for Dad's home office, guided by instinct more than plan. Script part separator, Dad's office remained untouched since his death. I turned on his desk lamp, casting long shadows across his law books and family photos. One caught my eye, Dad and me at my college graduation, his arm around my shoulders, pride beaming from his face. That man wouldn't have cut me out without reason. I began searching methodically. Desk drawers first, then filing cabinets.
Nothing unusual until we found a folder labeled Marcus Coastal Development hidden behind other files.
Inside were documents about a real estate venture I'd never heard of. Dad and Marcus were both listed as investors, along with Richard Thornton. The investment amount beside Dad's name made me gasp. $3 million. Where had that kind of money come from? A post-it note in Dad's handwriting was stuck to one page. Need to speak with Eleanor about this. Concerns about Marcus and Richard's handling.
My hands trembled as I photographed every document with my phone.
Whatever was happening here, Dad had wanted to tell me something. I froze when headlights swept across the window. A car was pulling into the driveway. Quickly, I returned everything exactly as I'd found it and slipped out through the back door just as I heard keys in the front lock. From behind a large oak tree, I watched as Richard Thornton entered my father's house at 2:30 a.m. What was Dad's law partner doing here in the middle of the night? The next morning, exhausted but determined, I called my father's bank. Claiming to be helping my brother settle the estate, I asked about recent transactions. We can't disclose that without proper authorization, the banker explained. I was about to hang up when she added, but I was sorry to hear about your father's concerns before he passed. He was quite upset about those large withdrawals.
My pulse quickened.
When exactly were these withdrawals? 3 weeks before he died, right before he changed his account permissions. The exact time the will had been changed. Script part separator, The more I dug, the clearer it became that something sinister had happened in Dad's final weeks. I compiled everything on a timeline. 3 weeks before his death, large withdrawals from his accounts. 3 weeks before, will change to disinherit me. 2 weeks before, Dad called asking if I'd consider moving home. 1 week before, Dad scheduled but canceled a visit to see me in Boston. And now Richard was sneaking into Dad's house in the middle of the night. None of it added up, unless Marcus and Richard were hiding something big. I needed allies. Dad's assistant Vera had always been kind to me, so I invited her for coffee, claiming I needed help processing my grief. I was surprised about the will, I said carefully, watching her reaction. Vera's eyes darted nervously around the cafe. I was too. Your father always talked about providing for both his children. Did he seem different those last few weeks? She hesitated. He was agitated. Kept saying he needed to fix something before it was too late. She lowered her voice. The day before he died, he asked me to find his old files on the coastal fraud case from 2010.
My breath caught.
The coastal fraud case? Yes. Something about history repeating. She checked her watch. I need to go. Marcus checks my lunch breaks now that he's taken over the firm's personnel matters. As Vera hurried away, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Your father's death wasn't a simple heart attack.
Meet me at Riverside Park, North Bench, 5 horas da tarde fu anti the truth. My hands shoe as iridite.
What if this was a trap? But what choice did I have? The inheritance wasn't just about money anymore. It was about justice for my father. At 4:55 p.m., I approached the bench cautiously. A man in a baseball cap sat there, his back to me. As I got closer, he spoke without turning.
Eleanor Harrington. I'm Detective James Reeves.
Your father hired me 3 weeks before he died. I think he was murdered. Script part separator ===. My body went rigid. Murdered. That couldn't be right. That's a serious accusation, I managed to say, sitting beside him but keeping my distance.
Detective Reeves handed me a manila envelope. Your father came to me off the books.
Said he couldn't trust the usual channels. He suspected financial irregularities at his firm involving your brother and Richard Thornton. What kind of irregularities? Client funds being diverted to the Coastal Development Project. Your father stumbled onto it by accident. Reeves kept his voice low. He was gathering evidence when he died. But the medical examiner said heart attack. Heart attacks can be induced, Ms. Harrington. Certain medications leave no trace after 24 hours. His eyes met mine. The timing is suspicious. The day before your father planned to confront them with evidence. My throat tightened. Why would they cut me out of the will? Control. As long as you had potential claims to your father's estate, you could potentially uncover their scheme. They needed you completely removed. I opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside were bank statements, photographs of Marcus and Richard meeting with men I didn't recognize, and a handwritten letter from my father. Eleanor, it began. If you're reading this, something has happened to me. The evidence in this package proves Marcus and Richard have embezzled millions from client accounts and laundered it through Coastal Development.
I'm confronting them tomorrow.
If anything happens to me, take this to District Attorney Kathleen Weber, only her.
I'm sorry for keeping you in the dark.
I was trying to protect you.
All my love, Dad. Tears blurred my vision.
We need to go to the police.
Reeves shook his head.
Your brother has connections throughout the department. That's why your dad specified the DA. Then let's go to her now. Not yet. We need more. A judge won't grant warrants based solely on your father's suspicions. We need concrete proof connecting them to your father's death. How do we get that? They think you've given up. Use that. Get close, act defeated. They'll make mistakes.
You want me to spy on my own brother?
The brother who might have killed our father? Reeves' expression softened. I know it's asking a lot. No, I said, straightening my shoulders. It's asking just enough. I'll do whatever it takes to get justice for my father. Script part separator ===. I called Marcus that evening, my voice carefully calibrated to sound broken and resigned. I've been thinking about Dad's will, I said.
Maybe you're right.
Maybe I should just accept it. The momentary silence spoke volumes. That's mature of you, Ellie. I'm glad you're seeing reason. I just want to understand why he did it. Could we have dinner? Talk about his last few weeks. Marcus agreed quickly, too quickly. We set a date for his club the following evening. The next day, I dressed carefully in a simple black dress that suggested defeat rather than determination. When I arrived at the exclusive downtown club where Marcus conducted business over whiskey and cigars, he was already waiting, looking relaxed for the first time since Dad's death. You look better, he said, kissing my cheek. Acceptance helps, I lied, taking a seat. Over appetizers, I played my role perfectly, the disappointed but resigned daughter seeking closure. Marcus grew increasingly comfortable, ordering an expensive bottle of wine to celebrate new beginnings. I've been thinking about Dad's legal practice, I said casually. Any interesting cases at the end? Marcus swirled his wine.
Nothing special.
Routine corporate work mostly. What about that coastal development he invested in? I saw some paperwork when I was collecting photos for the funeral. The change was subtle but unmistakable, a tightening around his eyes, fingers gripping the stem of his glass more firmly. Just a small investment property.
Nothing worth discussing.
$3 million doesn't seem small, I said, watching his face carefully. Marcus set down his glass with deliberate control. You've been snooping in Dad's papers. Just trying to understand. His smile didn't reach his eyes. That project is highly confidential, Ellie. Dad would be disappointed in your prying. Like he'd be disappointed you're stealing client funds to finance it? Script part separator ===. Marcus's face drained of color. What did you just say? I maintained a steady gaze.
You heard me.
Coastal development isn't just an investment, it's where client money is disappearing. That's absurd, he hissed, leaning forward.
Ain't dangerous talk, Ellie. Very dangerous.
Is that a threat? My heart hammered, but my voice remained calm. It's advice.
From your brother who cares about you.
He signaled for the check. You've been talking to someone.
Who?
Does it matter? The evidence speaks for itself. Marcus laughed, but it was hollow. Evidence. You have nothing but speculation. Dad died of natural causes. The will is legal. Everything else is your imagination working overtime because you're disappointed. Then why was Richard at Dad's house at 2:30 in the morning last week? That caught him off guard. His eyes widened fractionally before he recovered. Probably checking on things for me. He signed the bill with a flourish.
This conversation is over. Go back to Boston, Ellie.
Forget about Coastal and everything else. As we walked to the parking lot, his phone rang. He stepped away to answer, his voice low and urgent. I caught fragments. She knows, not sure how much, handle it quietly. When he returned, his smile was back in place, but colder now.
Let me drive you home.
I have my car. I insist. His tone left no room for argument. The hairs on my neck stood up. Getting into a car with him suddenly felt dangerous. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, I just got a text.
Emergency at school, curriculum meeting forgot.
Rain check. Before he could object, I hurried to my car, feeling his eyes boring into my back.
My hands shoes started the engine.
They knew I was on to them. And now I was in danger. Script part separator ===. I drove straight to Detective Reeves' apartment, constantly checking my rearview mirror. A black SUV seemed to be following me, but I lost it by making several random turns. They're spooked, Reeves said after I recounted my dinner with Marcus. That's good and bad. They'll be desperate, which means they might make mistakes. But they'll also be dangerous.
What do we do now?
I asked. We need access to their financial records. The smoking gun is in there somewhere. For the next week, I lived in constant anxiety. I noticed cars parked outside my hotel. My phone started acting strangely, battery draining quickly, unexpected restarts. Reeves confirmed my fears. I was being monitored. Then came a surprise. Vera called me from a payphone.
I can't talk long, she whispered.
But I found something. Richard keeps a separate set of books in a locked cabinet. I saw him entering transfers to something called CD Holdings. That's Coastal, isn't it? Can you get those records? No, but, she hesitated. There's a firm party Friday night. Everyone will be there. The office will be empty. It was our chance. Reeves and I planned carefully. I'd attend the party as a gesture of goodwill toward Marcus, then slip away. Reeves would meet me at the office with tools to open the cabinet. The night arrived. I wore a blue cocktail dress, playing the role of reconciled sister. Marcus seemed pleased to see me. Glad you've come around, Ellie, he said, clinking his champagne glass against mine. Family is everything, I replied, forcing a smile. Midway through the evening, I excused myself to the restroom but headed to the elevators instead. My heart pounded as I rode up to the 15th floor where Dad's firm occupied the entire space. Reeves was waiting by the service entrance. "We have 20 minutes, Max," he whispered as we hurried to Richard's office. The locked cabinet yielded easily to Reeves' tools. Inside was exactly what we needed, ledgers showing millions diverted from client trust accounts into coastal development, with Dad's forged signatures authorizing the transfers.
"This is it," Reeves said, photographing everything.
Clear evidence of embezzlement. Then we heard the elevator ding. Script part separator, We froze. Footsteps approached down the hallway. "Hide," Reeves whispered, shutting the cabinet.
"No."
I slipped behind a large filing cabinet while Reeves ducked into the adjoining bathroom. The office door opened, and Richard Thornton walked in, followed by my brother. "You're sure she's distracted downstairs?" Richard asked. "Positive. She's playing nice, thinking we don't suspect anything." Marcus loosened his tie. "But we need to accelerate our timeline. She's been asking questions." Richard unlocked the cabinet we'd just closed.
"The money transfers to Cayman complete tomorrow.
Once that's done, she can ask all she wants." My blood ran cold as Marcus spoke next. What if she found Dad's evidence? What if she knows what really happened that day?
Richard's voice hardened.
"Then we handle her the same way we handled your father." "That was different," Marcus protested. "Dad was going to expose everything. Ellie's just a threat," Richard finished.
"One we can't afford."
"The medical examiner owed me a favor last time. He'll do it again." They were openly discussing killing me.
"E precede my hand over my motor to stifle a gas."
"The pills worked perfectly with your father," Richard continued. "Heart attack, no questions asked. We can make it look like grief drove her to suicide."
"Jesus, Richard." Marcus sounded shaking.
"You're in too deep to get squeamish now," Richard snapped. 3 days and we're in the clear. 50 million divided between us. They gathered some documents and left.
When the door clicked shut, e collapsed to the floor, shaking uncontrollable.
Reeves emerged. "We got it all on recording," he whispered, showing me his phone. "We need to get to the DA tonight." As we slipped out of the office, my phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Where are you?" "Everyone's asking." Script part separator,
We rushed through the darkened corridors toward the service elevator, the recording burning a hole in Reeves' pocket.
Every second counted now. "We need to make one stop," Reeves said as we reached his car. "The medical examiner who signed off on your father's death certificate. If he confesses to falsifying the report, we'll have them on conspiracy to murder." I nodded, still reeling from what I'd heard. My own brother had been involved in our father's death. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife. We drove to an upscale neighborhood where Dr. Miles Hoffman lived. Reeves had done his homework. The doctor answered his door in pajamas, his face draining of color when Reeves showed his badge. "We have recorded evidence linking you to the falsification of William Harrington's death certificate," Reeves stated flatly. "Cooperate now, and the DA might show leniency." Dr. Hoffman's shoulders slumped. "Richard Thornton owns me," he whispered. "Gambling debts. He promised to wipe them clean if I ruled the death natural causes." "Did you perform any actual examination?" I demanded. "Minimal. Enough to see that the symptoms matched cardiac arrest. But I ignored the signs of digitalis poisoning. It's derived from foxglove, virtually undetectable after 24 hours.
My phone buzzed again. "Marcus, answer me, Ellie. Where are you?"
Followed immediately by another. "If you've left the party, I'm coming to your hotel." "We need to move," Reeves said urgently. "They'll realize something's wrong." As we pulled away from Dr. Hoffman's house with his signed statement, headlights flashed in my side mirror. "We're being followed," I whispered.
Reeves accelerated. "Call da Weber."
"Her direct line is in my phone. Tell her we're coming in with evidence of murder, embezzlement, and conspiracy." The black SUV behind us sped up, ramming our bumper. Reeves swerved, struggling to maintain control. "They're trying to run us off the road." I clutched the dashboard as Reeves took a sharp turn. The DA answered on the third ring. I frantically explained our situation, while Reeves executed evasive maneuvers through downtown traffic. Get to the county courthouse, she instructed. I'll have officers waiting. Don't stop for anyone else. The SUV rammed us again, harder. Our car fishtailed, nearly spinning out. Hold on, Reeves shouted as he floored the accelerator. Script part separator, ===. We barreled through a red light, horns blaring around us. The courthouse was only 6 blocks away, but those 6 blocks stretched like a lifetime. They've called backup, Reeves warned, eyeing the rearview mirror. A second black vehicle had joined the pursuit.
My phone hung, Marcos.
With trembling fingers, I answered on speaker. Ellie, what do you think you're doing? His voice was unnervingly calm. Getting justice for Dad, I replied, trying to match his composure. You don't understand what you're meddling in. Richard has connections everywhere. Police, judges, prosecutors. Not all of them, I said.
Marcos Tony darkened.
Pull over now, and we can talk. Keep driving, and I can't protect you. Protect me.
Like you protected Dad? My voice cracked.
Silence hung for a moment before he responded. Dad made his choice when he threatened to expose us. What happened was regrettable but necessary. The cold calculation in his voice chilled me to the bone. This wasn't my brother anymore.
You're going down, Marcos, he said, ending the call.
The courthouse loomed ahead, its stone facade illuminated in the night. I could see police cruisers with flashing lights waiting at the entrance. We're going to make it, Reeves said, relief evident in his voice. Then came the impact, a crushing blow from the side as the second SUV T-boned us at an intersection. Our car spun violently, airbags deploying in an explosion of white. My head snapped against the window despite the restraints. Through blurred vision, I saw figures approaching our wrecked vehicle. One of them was Richard Thornton, his face a mask of determination. Script part separator, The door beside me wrenched open. Richard's face loomed in the frame, but before he could reach for me, a spotlight blinded us both. Police sirens wailed. Police! Step away from the vehicle with your hands raised. Richard froze, then bolted toward the second SUV. Officers swarmed the scene, weapons drawn. Through my daze, I saw Marcus standing by the first SUV, his expression shifting from confidence to fear as officers surrounded him. Eleanor Harrington. A female officer helped me from the wreckage. I'm with DA Weber. Are you injured? The evidence, I mumbled, pointing to Reeves who was being helped by paramedics. He has recordings, confessions. We've got it secured, she assured me. You're safe now. As paramedics checked me for injuries, I watched my brother being handcuffed and placed in a police cruiser. Our eyes met briefly across the chaos. No words, just a look of bitter realization that it was over. DA Weber arrived minutes later, a tall woman with determined eyes. Ms. Harrington, we've been building a case against Thornton for months. Your father's evidence was the missing piece. My father knew, I whispered. He came to me first, actually, she said. We were working together when he died. He was very careful to keep you out of it, to protect you. The truth washed over me like a wave. Dad hadn't cut me out because he didn't care. He'd done it to shield me from Marcus and Richard's vengeance. If I'd had a claim to his estate, I would have been a target from the beginning. Will you testify? DA Weber asked. Through my tears, I nodded. My father deserves justice. Over the next 3 days, the case exploded across headlines. Prominent attorneys charged in embezzlement and murder scheme, son implicated in father's death. The $50 million they'd stolen from clients was just the beginning. The trial lasted 6 weeks, but felt like an eternity. I sat in that courtroom every day, watching as the prosecution methodically exposed every layer of my brother's crimes. Richard Thornton broke first, accepting a deal to testify against Marcus in exchange for avoiding the death penalty. His testimony was devastating, detailing how they'd manipulated my father's medication, how they'd forged documents, how cold-bloodedly they'd planned it all. Marcus never once looked at me directly, not until the verdict came down. Guilty on all counts, including first-degree murder. Only then did his eyes find mine across the courtroom. I saw no remorse there, only a hollow emptiness that told me my brother had died long before this moment, consumed by greed. The judge's sentence was swift and severe, life without parole. As they led Marcus away, I felt no triumph, only a profound sadness for what could have been. 3 months later, I stood alone in Dad's study, now legally mine after the courts invalidated the fraudulent will. D.A. Weber had helped expedite the process, and the recovered client funds meant the firm's legitimate assets could be properly distributed. I ran my fingers over Dad's leather chair, remembering him there, always working to help others. A framed photo on his desk caught my eye. Dad, Marcus, and me at a lake house 20 years ago, all smiles and future dreams. I placed it face down. Some family stories don't have happy endings. Some betrayals cut too deep for healing. But as I locked Dad's office one final time, I carried with me the certainty that I'd honored him in the way that mattered most, by ensuring justice prevailed. The inheritance I ultimately received wasn't just money or property. It was my father's moral compass, his commitment to truth, his courage. That legacy, unlike material wealth, could never be stolen or corrupted. And in the end, that was worth more than anything else he could have left me.